I have a theory that I think a lot of people are overlooking, but I believe that Alex Pereira is turning evil. Let's get into it. Alex Pereira's story is truly something to behold. From working in a tire shop to Brazil, to battling alcoholism, to having some success in kickboxing, and then to becoming a 3-time UFC world champion across 2 divisions. This first theme I want to talk about is the man versus the myth. We all saw Alex Pereira as someone who was stoic, unshakable, and had this quiet but scary aura about him. But I can't help but feel that something along the way has changed. His rise, particularly in the UFC, was framed as this stoic revenge from being relatively unknown to the wider MMA community. And then Israel Adesanya made the mistake of calling him out in an interview. Well, not really calling him out, but talking trash.
He watches all my fights, and every time I fight, he'll try and put something out like, I beat this guy. At the end of the day, no one knows who the f he is, and he's gonna be that guy when I'm world champion, when I'm a legend. He's gonna be at some pub talking about, I beat that guy one time.
But now it feels like Pereira's motivation is no longer to be this dominant UFC champion, but rather for status and ego. His aura used to come from his silence and the way that he would fight, but now he's talking, tweeting, and just reacting a lot.
On Saturday, your manager won't be there to help you.
Chama!
The psychology here is that when someone's entire identity is based on conquest and getting to the top of that mountain, once there's no mountain left to climb, their energy turns inward. And dominance needs an outlet, but that's where ego starts to creep in. He's accomplished everything, so what's his motivation? Alex himself has beaten the story of Alex Pereira, but now he's trying to write a new one. This next theme I want to talk about is the turning point. This first Ankalaev fight was the start of Alex Pereira's dark era. In the lead up to this fight, Pereira's demeanor completely changed. Rather than being his quiet, stoic self, he became very edgy and hostile and even defensive in interviews. He started trash talking Ankalaev a lot and was showing visible irritation in the lead up.
His coach was telling him to ask questions. He's like a little puppet, you know, it's just so he doesn't come off as looking as bad. He said a lot of things because they know that I'm better. The improvement that I've made, the things that I've done, they know that I'm better. Say what your coach wanted you to say.
And like I said, that was never something we saw from Alex Pereira previously, even in his rivalry with Israel Adesanya. And then after Alex Pereira lost that first fight, his mask completely slipped. If you remember around that time after the loss, Alex Pereira started tweeting crazy things about the UFC and it seemed like they were on bad terms. But then shortly after, Alex himself came out and started saying that he was hacked and that those tweets weren't from him.
Bom pessoal, pô, recebi aqui monte de mensagem aqui da galera falando aqui que viu mensagem do meu Twitter e pô, eu nem sabia que tinha sido hackeado porque.
But then recently in an interview, he went back on those comments and said that it was him and he just had some disputes with the UFC.
Can we clear that up, because you did send a tweet from your account and it seemed like you were upset and then you took the tweet down. Can we clear up that was him actually in the moment upset?
Yeah, he just said that actually. 100% was lack of communication, was a little bit impulsive from him. He acted a little early.
Which is very weird stuff, man. After that loss, I said that Alex Pereira should have just pivoted and moved straight up to heavyweight, where it would have given him the opportunity to just completely restart his career again and give him a new goal and motivation to strive for. No one in UFC history has been a 3-division world champion. And if you ask me, this is something that Alex Pereira could have achieved at this time. But instead, he chose to stay at light heavyweight and face the guy who just embarrassed him again in a rematch, a fight that no one in the fan base was even excited to see. That's not logic, that's just pure pride. He didn't just get caught and KO'd by a single shot like he did in the Israel Adesanya fight. He got beat across 5 rounds in a boring fight. Again, the psychology here is that the loss to Ankalaev fractured the untouchable image that Pereira had built for himself. And I think that fear of becoming irrelevant took over Pereira and his ego took the driving seat. This next theme, I think, is something that gets overlooked a lot, but in my opinion plays a massive part in this dark era of Alex Pereira. Whether you're spiritual or not, hear me out. This is the superstition and the shaman. Yuri's black magic comments might have been laughed off by Dana White and even the rest of the MMA community.
Everybody knows that, and he's doing these rituals before the fight. Everybody can feel that what's around him and what's going on. Alex can't fight without that. Let the higher power be there in the cage to see who's the best.
He's trying to play something. I saw him in his eyes, but he's doing some technique.
But Alex in the past has openly talked about using shamans and spirituality in his fights.
Everybody have their own spirits. We're not only made of flesh and bone. I found mine.
Especially when it comes to pre-fight rituals, man. Just look at Alex Pereira, his tribal tattoos, the ceremonial pre-fight imagery. Not to mention that video that surfaced a while ago of Alex Pereira doing doing like this feather ritual. FightScope posted a very interesting video on this.
After losing to Magomed Ankalaev and announcing the rematch, Pereira didn't go to the gym. He went back to the Brazilian tribe in the rainforest where he was born to perform spiritual rituals.
He went back to Brazil and performed the same ritual that he did just before he KO'd Sean Strickland, and as well before he took the belt from Israel Adesanya. And then what happened in the rematch? He KO'd Ankalaev. I'm just saying, man, whether this is real or fake, it adds to the mystique of him. He's kind of leaning into that supernatural villain aura, almost like he's playing into what the fans project onto him. I'm just gonna say it, maybe our boy Yuri was right. This next theme, which I think is the most important one of them all, the ego era. Post Ankalaev rematch, Pereira's online attitude has been completely different. Even when he beat Israel Adesanya and claimed the belt at middleweight, he was extremely humble and even embraced Izzy. Whereas we openly saw after he defeated Ankalaev in their rematch, he was openly talking trash, denying a third fight, which I'm not complaining about, but these just aren't the signs of a fighter who is humble and respectful in victory. A complete black and white contrast of what we used to see from Pereira to now. I think when someone, especially a fighter, comes from such a poverty-drawn background, and then they fall into a lot of money, they fall into a lot of status, it can sometimes bring out the worst qualities in them. Not to say that Pereira is full McGregor, but I think he's at least a quarter way there. These days we see him showing up in fancy cars and flashy outfits, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with, but it's completely different from how he used to be. Not to mention something that I personally find very strange is Alex Pereira's weird beef and trash talking towards Tom Aspinall. If there was a possibility that Alex Pereira was doing this so that he could get a matchup with Tom Aspinall, I'm all for it, but instead he's siding with Jon Jones and calling out Jon Jones for a fight, which makes absolutely no sense. It's clear that this is just for the money, not legacy. If it was really about legacy, he would go straight for that third belt. There was also that moment in the lead up to the second Ankalaev fight where Pereira put out a video asking fans whether he should shave his head or not, which on the surface level seems like such a small issue for me to even bring up. But when you really look into the psychology of this, it's almost like these days he cares so much about public perception, which again is just not something we've ever seen from him. That stoic killer we once knew has now become reactive and more focused on public perception. It's like the mystique has been replaced by a man that cares so much more about controlling the narrative about himself. When a fighter who built their entire brand on stillness starts chasing attention, it's usually just based on insecurity. And in my opinion, that insecurity started after he lost that fight to Ankalaev. That fear of becoming irrelevant and metaphorically having to go back to being that tire shop guy kicked in. This next theme is the Jon Jones obsession. I just touched on this briefly in the last theme, but what is his obsession with fighting Jon Jones? Why does he even want this fight? It's very strange to me when people have selective morals, especially when they choose who to be friends and do business with. I don't need to get into Jon Jones' history, but let's just say he's not an angel.
I hate you.
But it almost feels like Alex Pereira and Jon Jones have this weird pact where they're both just going to avoid Tom Aspinall and disregard him and just fight each other almost in a way to brush off Tom Aspinall. I feel bad for Tom, man. What has he done to catch all these strays? In a way, Jon Jones represents the extreme of this current version of Alex Pereira. A complete villain, prideful, and both see themselves as this dominant force that is above the rest. Alex Pereira is no longer choosing legacy. He's navigating his career for public validation. It's not that Alex Pereira is necessarily evil, but I just think he's lost that balance of quiet, stoic harmony mixed with that killer instinct. That same darkness that made him great and invincible is starting to consume him. This is no longer the Alex Pereira that arrived trying to prove himself. This is the Alex Pereira that is trying to prove that he still matters. And those two motivations just aren't the same. But yeah, that's why I believe that Alex Pereira is starting to turn evil. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys do drop a like on this video and make sure to subscribe as well, man. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.